This lecture serves as the beginning of our coverage of the book of Isaiah itself. And there will be 3 or 4 parts to this. First part, which is concentrating on Isaiah 1 through 14. The first question we want to ask is, who was Isaiah son of Amoz, or as he is sometimes referred to, Isaiah of Jerusalem? He was a prophet who lived in Jerusalem in the late 8th and early 7th centuries BCE. The term that is used for a prophet is often Navi, and he is married to a Neviah, a woman who acted as a seer or prophetess in the temple, with whom he had several children, and some of them were given symbolic names. So you have Sha'ar Yashub, a remnant will return; Maher Shalal Hashbaz, quickly the plunder, hastily the spoil. We see something similar going on in the book of Hosea. He seems to have had the right of direct access to the king, and he's never forbidden to speak. This is very much different than what we will see in Jeremiah. Possibly he was a court prophet who worked directly with the king as Nathan worked with David. He prophesies over a period of about 50 years. Numbers differ. Under 4 different kings: Uzziah or Azariah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. One thing about these dates are approximate. There's a lot of discussion about exactly what those dates are. And this is because in the ancient world, there was no fixed dating system like we have today. Rather, you would date events according to the year of a particular king's reign. So when scholars are looking to figure out the various nations in relation to one another, they have to sort of look and see, line up the timelines according to kings' reigns, and oftentimes the ending year of one king would be the beginning year of another, and so you get sort of double years. So there's some uncertainty as the exact dates. Isaiah seems to have had disciples. We see this in chapter 8, verse 16. Possibly there was a school of prophets that we saw before in the introduction on prophecy, and they may have been the ones who collected all of his words and then continued to prophesy after his death. In chapter 6, we have a vision that Isaiah sees. Some have seen this as his initial calling to be a prophet, and yet it is to be noted that we have collected prophecies in the first 5 chapters before this. We'll touch on this again. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lofty, and the hem of his robe filled the temple. Seraphs were in attendance above him. Each had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. And one called to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. The pivots on the thresholds shook at the voices of those who called, and the house filled with smoke. And I said, Woe is me, I am lost, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. Yet my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then one of the seraphs flew to me, holding a live coal that had been taken from the altar with a pair of tongs. The seraph touched my mouth with it and said, Now that this has touched your lips, your guilt has departed and your sin is blotted out. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me. In this vision, God is described as holy to the highest power of holiness. That's what's indicated by the triple use of the word holy, 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 holy. God is described as having glory. And here glory has the sense of force and weightiness, also brightness, splendor, magnificence. God is both transcendent and in the world. He is larger than the world and yet meets with Isaiah in the temple. The temple is the center of the earth and the site of the footstool of the divine throne, the Ark of the Covenant. We have seen this word holiness before, and here it has the sense of something wholly other, remote from everyday experience, active divine power, and is manifested in holy places, seasons, persons, and texts. On the other hand, Isaiah calls himself unclean. That which is unclean is associated with death, disease, sin, but holiness burns up that impurity and makes a person or object more holy. Here we see in chapter 6 the prophet is to call attention to the hardness of heart of the people. The words are ironic in the sense that they're telling the people that they won't be able to hear. Jesus does this sometimes as well. And this is sort of a way of calling the people to actually listen by telling them that they won't listen. Prophecy is aimed at the whole people, and it comes because of the behavior of the people of Israel and Judah. They have gone against the Lord. And God cannot ignore evil or disaster to an unlimited degree. He has to address it. And this is the judgment part. And the problem is the people's heart has gone astray. The heart is more than the emotions. The heart is the seat of thought and will. So their thoughts and their will have gone away from the Lord. There are some who suggest that Isaiah 6 is not the beginning or the first call, but it comes at the end of Isaiah's social criticism in chapters 1 through 5 and sort of sums up a profound disappointment over the fact that the people have not listened to him.